Hello, I'm Nathan, and welcome back to WMF Reacts. If you've not been here before, then welcome. Please join me on my musical journey. Today is a little bit different. Usually, I react to music on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Tuesday tends to be international music. The moment is Diana Nkudinova, whose name I always mispronounce, so apologies, because it's always requested, and she does amazing music. That's what I do on a Tuesday. On a Thursday, I react to country music. So the whole premise of this was I'm generally into heavy rock music, Japanese rock. I also like musicals and some pop music and classical music and all things like that. So there's certain music I don't know much about. Country is one of those. The second one I'm going to do today on a Saturday, moving forwards, hopefully I get enough time to do it, but we shall see. So I'm going to react to rap music. Now, rap music is something that I am aware of in the sense that I've heard some from, like, movie soundtracks and that sort of thing, like the movie Dangerous Minds, the title track from that, Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. I know that. I know of Eminem, and I know some of his tracks. Some of them I've heard quite a few times, to be honest. So that's the kind of history I have with rap. Not a huge amount. Obviously, there's some rap metal as well, where they've combined rap verses with heavy metal and rock and that sort of thing. So Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit, and ones like that have kind of merged the two genres. But for rap itself, being from the UK, I don't know much about the culture that rap comes from. I haven't lived in America very long. I've lived in upstate New York, but that's a completely different kind of thing, isn't it? So I don't know a lot about the kind of culture and the themes and that sort of thing for rap music. So it's never really kind of jumped out at me. It's something I'd like. I've always liked singing and music and that side of thing. And rap is more poetry to music, I guess, is the way I've kind of viewed it. So I'm going to change that today and moving forwards and see what I can find out, because I know there's some amazing lyrics, there's some amazing bands. There are little bits that I know, like Gorillaz as well. I know they've had quite a few rap artists in their music as well, so there's bits and pieces. But today I'm going to react to Tupac, a name I do know because obviously he did have a little bit of a movie career, and obviously his untimely death then from a shooting back in the 90s, was it? I can't remember when it was. Let's have a look. There we go, 1996. I knew it was in the 90s. So I am aware of him, and I believe he also wrote a load of poems when he was younger and that sort of thing. So as far as lyrics and words, that's something he excels at. So it'll be interesting to see what this is. I'm expecting this to be quite an emotional one, speaking about his mum, and obviously he's had a lot of tough times in his life, so I expect this is going to be very retrospective and look at how he's treated his mother, how he's been treated by her and that sort of thing. So I expect this quite an emotional journey. So let's have a listen and see what we find out.
When I was pregnant in jail, I thought I was going to have a baby and the baby would never be with me, but I was acquitted a month and 3 days before Tupac was born. I was real happy because I had a son.
When I was young, me and my mama had beef, 17 years old, kicked out on the streets. Though back at the time, I never thought I'd see her face. Ain't a woman alive that could take my mama's place. Suspended from school, I'm scared to go home. I was a fool with the big boys breaking all the rules. Shed tears with my baby sister. Over the years, we was poor than other little kids.
Stop by there, and I'll just react to what's happened so far. So far, I'm quite enjoying it. The tone of his voice works well, and he's got a nice cadence going with the music. The music I'm really quite liking as well. It's not too sort of fast and in your face and loud. A lot of rap, I kind of think of the music is kind of more in your face than this, but this is quite understated, nice bit of guitar work, nice and slow, and it's got a nice beat to it. So I wasn't aware that his mum was pregnant in jail and was released just before having him. So that's quite an interesting kind of view on how his life started, because I don't know much about him other than the big stuff in the news when he died, and obviously the movies and Jada Pinkett Smith and all of that kind of thing is all I've kind of know about him. I don't know what his music sounds like until this point, so let's have a look. So the lyrics. When I was young, me and my mama had beef. So we don't tend to say beef in this country, but I do know the American term. So they didn't see eye to eye very much, and there's a little bit of tension between them. 17 years old, kicked out on the streets. So he left home at 17. Obviously, didn't get on well with his mum. Probably a rebellious young lad, should we say. Thought back at the time, I never thought I'd see a face in life that could take my mum's place. Suspended from school and scared to go home. Yeah, so he had a very troubled upbringing. Was a fool with the boys, breaking all the rules. It's kind of a classic story, isn't it? It's all the kind of things. He's got a baby sister. They were poorer than the other kids. It's what kind of I expect from this sort of thing. A lot of what my understanding of rap, it is from underprivileged kind of culture, where especially people of color growing up in rough areas, not having the opportunities, the parents not having jobs and having to get by however they can, a lot of violence and that sort of thing. So this is kind of my expectation in a way, and I don't want to make that sound kind of that I expect everything to be like that, but that's kind of the roots of rap as far as I'm aware. Please tell me anything that I'm getting wrong. I am coming at this from a completely outsider. I'm a white guy, middle-aged, well, maybe a little bit over that, living in the UK, so rap is a completely different world to me, so I'm trying to understand it. So please help me understand. Tell me what I'm not getting right, any of the kind of stereotypes that are completely wrong, dispel them, help me learn. That's what it's about. Right, let's go back to this. Right, where were we? Round by here. Let's have a look. Oh, just before that. There we go. Over the years, we were poorer than the other kids.
We was poorer than other little kids. And even though we had different daddies, the same drama when things went wrong, we blame mama. I reminisce on the stress I caused. It was hell, hugging on my mama from a jail cell.
That's sad, isn't it? So I do like the guitar work, that it's just kind of, it comes up. It reminds me a lot of country and that sort of thing, which kind of makes sense because it's from America, although different aspects of music. I think a lot of it kind of has similar roots in a lot of ways, and the way the guitar work is being played is a lot more country than it is rock, is the way I'd kind of view it. The little kind of the guitar flicks as it goes up between the verses definitely has that kind of vibe. So that's like, they've got different dads, same mum, and when things go wrong, they blame her, which is kind of normal because your mum is there to kind of solve all your problems, and if dad wasn't there, then there's nobody else to blame. If things go wrong, it's her fault. It's kind of universal. It happens all over the world because that's the person there to protect you, to teach you, to show you right from wrong. If things don't go right, it's their fault. They're the person there. So it is understandable that always misplaced, but mums usually know, don't they? They know you don't really mean it.
Hey, mama, I reminisce on the stress I caused. It was hell, hugging on my mama from a jail cell.
And that's sad as well, hugging him from a jail cell, because he has gone down the wrong path, but she's still there for him.
Thinking elementary, hey, I see the penitentiary one day.
Nice rhyme.
Running from the police, that's right. Mama catch me, put a whooping to my backside. And even as a crack fiend, mama, you're...
Right, second verse, so we're getting into other things going by that. So even as a crack fiend, mama. So his mum also had a drug problem, which, judging by how life has gone, and she was in prison while she was expecting him, and him going off the rails and so on, it's kind of understandable that she looks for a way out. So let's have a look. Yeah, hugging him on the jail cell. What do you think in elementary? Hey, I see the penitentiary. So nice little rhyme in there. Go. One of the police, that's right. I'm a cash me, put a whoop on my backside. You can kind of rhyme, get the kind of rhyming conventions there. Oh, went too far. Right. So it's the second verse now, I'm guessing. Okay.
Backside. And even as a crack fiend, mama, you always was the black queen, mama.
So even though she was a drug addict, she was still kind of, his mum and, special and important to him. So it's a nice thing to say, although she struggled and she's taken some of the wrong choices, she's still, the most important person in his life.
I finally understand for a woman it ain't easy trying to raise a man. You always was committed. A poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it. There's no way I can pay you back. But the plan is to show you that I understand.
That's really nice. So it's, a lot of this stuff is universal. It doesn't have to do with, being in that culture, in that place in America. It doesn't matter what color you are, what country you're from. It's all similar kind of things that we deal with parents. I've been like, as I said, I'm a white guy, lives in the UK. I had a great upbringing. My parents were great. We weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but we got by and we did really well, and I'm in a great place now, so it's brilliant. So a lot of this is really nice to kind of see. So we discussed that bit. So he finally understands, which is nice for a woman and easy to raise a man, which it can be, especially a single mother trying to raise a lad, a young boy. There's a difference. A woman raising a girl is easy because she has understanding what she goes through as puberty hits, where things are difficult, what she might be thinking, what she might be feeling. But for a male child, it's really difficult for her then to understand what he's going through and the pressures he's under and that sort of thing. So at least he's kind of acknowledging that, going, I understand how difficult this was. Yeah, it's always committed. Forcing wrong welfare, tell me how did it. It's nowhere I can repay you back. But plans to show they understand. That's one of the big things. Parents don't always want you to pay them back and give them money back that they put into you, but it's just to understand that they did what they could. They may have not done the best. They may have not always made the right choices, but they always tried their best for you. That's what's important.
To show you that I understand, you all appreciate it. Don't you know we love you, sweet dear mama? Place no one above you, you all appreciate it. Don't you know we love you?
I'll stop there. I'm stopping this way too much, but I want to kind of focus on the lyrics a lot because I don't, as I said, I don't have an understanding of rap, so I'm trying to get kind of to the bottom of it. And all of this, it's nice sentiments in it. It's, let's go back. I'll try not to spend too long. All right, probably easier if I just read the lyrics in it. Right, let's get it to there. All right. That's really done really well. So let's have a look. All right, plans to know. Right, you're appreciated, lady. Don't you know we love you, sweet lady. Place no one above you, sweet lady. Don't you know we love you. So it's once again saying that he loves his mother above everyone else. How important she is to him. Things that he probably didn't say growing up, and probably placed a lot of blame on her, and put a lot on her shoulders, and put a lot of fault her direction that he shouldn't have. Now he's kind of like how wonderful she is and everything she did. So that's really. It's nice sentiments, no matter who you are, where you're from. That's kind of what your mum is, isn't it?
Now ain't nobody tell us it was fair. No love from my daddy, cause the coward wasn't there. He passed away and I didn't cry, cause my anger wouldn't let me feel for a stranger. They say I'm wrong and I'm heartless, but all along I was looking for a father, he was gone. I hung around.
It's something that I personally don't understand from my experience. My dad, is still there. I'm lucky to still have my parents at my age. My dad did work away a lot, so that was kind of a strange one growing up. He worked away to make more money for the family. He was in the RAF for a while, then he went out to Saudi Arabia to work and live out there, and he'd be gone for months at a time, and then only be back for a couple of weeks, and then be gone for months at a time, which was sometimes difficult, but I always understood why he did it. He did it for us. Back in the day before we had the internet, we'd write letters, and it was always a highlight getting a letter from him and sending a letter back out. I had like transformer stationery that I'd write letters to him and that sort of thing. And something he did as well when he was out there, he ran a local radio station on one of the air base, because he worked out air bases, American air bases out in Saudi, and he had this little radio show called On a Storyteller's Night, and he used to send tapes back, proper cassettes. I've got one around here somewhere still, because I've been kind of digitizing them to keep them. And that's where I got a lot of my musical taste from, is listening to his show. And it's one of the reasons why I actually started a YouTube channel. I've got a gaming channel I've been doing for a number of years. My son doesn't live with me, break up the family and all that sort of thing, but I still see him a lot. And I decided to make a YouTube channel because that's something he watched a lot of. So if I had a YouTube channel, then he could see me when I wasn't there, which is kind of why I did it. And I've actually got a podcast as well that I've called On a Storyteller's Night in honor of my dad as well. It's because I wanted to kind of keep that going, if that makes sense. I know I'm straying for the point, but this is what kind of it brings out those feelings, because I did miss my dad when he wasn't there, but I never blamed him. I always understood, and the amazing things he did and the sacrifices he did, because I know how hard it is being away from your family. So it breaks my heart to see, when people don't have that, when the dad has decided to leave and abandon the family, and in this case, and then die, and the kids didn't know him at all. I just find that really sad and unfair that it can have that, and I've had kind of, a very blessed life, I guess, in many ways. So yeah, I don't understand the sentiment, but I kind of understand it from different perspectives. So I understand, my dad not being there, so a little bit of that, and me not being there for my son as much as I'd like to, because we don't live together. I kind of see different sides of it. So yeah. All right, let's get back to this, because I am taking way too long, but I really want to kind of get into this a bit. All right, so let's go back. All right. No, I love my daddy because the coward wasn't there. He passed away and I didn't cry because my anger wouldn't let me feel for stranger, which is understandable. Dad wasn't there and he died, so he didn't get to know him at all. It's saying wrong, I'm heartless, but all along I was looking for father. He was gone. Yeah, it's understandable. You can't feel something for somebody that wasn't there. And I guess it would be hard then for when he's got kids. How do you deal with a child when you didn't have that experience as the child with the like your father there, or if you have one there, whichever side. But this side, obviously, we're talking about the father. How do you then treat your own son if your father wasn't there to teach you how to be a man? How do you impart that knowledge to the next generation? And that's what's really got to be difficult now.
But all along I was looking for a father, he was gone. I hung around with the thugs, and even though they sold drugs, they showed a young brother love. I moved out, started really hanging. I needed money of my own, so I started slanging. I ain't guilty, cause even though I sell rocks, it feels good putting money in your mailbox. I love paying rent when the rent's due. I hope you got the diamond necklace that I sent to you. Cause when I was low, you was there for me. You never left me alone because you cared for me. And I can see you coming home after work late. You're in the kitchen trying to fix us a hot plate.
I'll stop, but I'm finding places to try and stop, then I have to do a big bit. So, he said a lot of the things that you kind of expect that, he wants to do right for his mum. So, he's hanging out with the wrong people, but they make him feel like he belongs. And that's what he's always needed, is a place where he feels safe. He feels that people care for him and he's part of. But they're selling drugs, and he then gets into that because he wants to, pay his own way. He wants to pay rent. He wants to, give his mum money and buy diamond necklaces and get the things she couldn't have, even though he's not doing it the right way. And he knows that he's doing the best he can with the tools he's got and trying to make up for that. It's all really sad, isn't it? It does break my heart, all this kind of thing that, I don't see as much in this country. There are parts of this country that are kind of like that, but it's not something I see. So I always find it so heartbreaking that people have to go through this sort of thing. It's just wrong, in it. A world like this, where there's so much money and so much, resources, why can't we share it a bit? It's dreadful. All right.
For me. You never left me alone because you cared for me. And I can see you coming home after work late. You're in the kitchen trying to fix us a hot plate. You're just working with the scraps you was given. And mama made miracles every Thanksgiving. But now the road got rough, you're alone. You're trying to raise 2 bad kids on your own. And there's no way I can pay you back. But my plan is to show you that I understand.
All right, and then we go back into the course, so we'll get there. So yeah, even, if it's not from a state of sort of poverty and, hardship like this, it's very normal for a lot of families, especially these days with prices as they are. But, a single mum with a couple of kids has to work all day, comes home late, cooking meals and looking after the kids. It's not easy, it's never going to be easy. I know lots of people that go through that. Well, my mum did for a while. Yeah, my dad was working away and making money, so it wasn't like we didn't have money, but she was still working and coming home and looking after me and my brother and cooking the meals and doing the cleaning and all the other things. So she had a lot on her plate. to deal with. And it wasn't, any form of dad. He was out making money the best way he could, legally, obviously. But, it still wasn't easy. Although he was out making money, it's not like it made us rich. It meant that we were stable. And when he did, had enough of that and came back, we did struggle for a while. We had the, food box and that kind of thing, and kind of the welfare thing. So we did that very, very, very briefly, but we did experience a bit of that. Me and my brother didn't really see that much, because we were always insulated from it. But I do understand that, that it is a struggle, and I do see it all the time. I said I've got friends that struggle, being single parents, and it's not an easy life out there, is it? But this is nice to see that he's blamed his mum on his life, although knowing she's there, because she's there, she's a safe space. He can put blame onto her and got sound off at her, because she's the only person that's safe in his life. So if he occasionally says things that are hurtful, it's because he doesn't have anybody else that he can vent to, and she takes the brunt of that, and how he's trying to say how much he appreciates her, and understands that wasn't right, but knows what she did for him.
Well, appreciate and dear mama,
place no one above you,
well, appreciate
don't you know we love you?
pour out some liquor and I reminisce, cause through the drama I can always depend on my mama. And when it seems that I'm hopeless, you say the words that can get me back in focus. When I was sick as a little kid, to keep me happy there's no limit to the things you did. And all my childhood memories are full of all the sweet things you did for me. And even though I act crazy, I gotta thank the Lord that you made me. There are no words that can express how I feel. You never kept a secret, always stayed real. And I appreciate how you raised me, and all the extra love that you gave me.
It's get me all emotional, because it is so true. And he understands everything that she did when he was growing up, and looked after him when he was ill. And there's no limits to the things you did. All my childhood memories are full of the sweet things you did for me. Even though I acted crazy, I got to thank the Lord that he made me. That's the things I was saying. So he remembers all the good times, everything that she struggled and did for him, even when it was hard, and even when he was a pain in the ass, she still loved him unconditionally, which is just it's so nice to hear somebody. Because you always think of rap as kind of like guns and violence, and you don't think of this kind of introspective side where they actually think about the people in their lives and the parents that made a difference, and his mum that brought him up by herself and the struggles she had, and just kind of reach out and say, I understand, thank you for everything, you're amazing. So nice.
I wish I could take the pain away. If you can make it through the night, there's a brighter day. Everything will be alright if you hold on. It's a struggle every day, gotta roll on. And there's no way I can pay you back, but my plan is to show you that I understand. You all appreciate it.
Don't you know we love you, sweet
Dear mama,
place no one above you,
you all appreciate it.
don't you know we love you, sweet
And dear mama, dear mama,
I really enjoyed that. It's not what I expected, especially only knowing the kind of violent gang side of Tupac from the news when he got shot in 1996, and only seeing that side of it and not seeing the poet side. I think that he had some poems when he was 11 that they sold in auction after his death, and finding out that side and the beautiful words he says about his mum and appreciating everything she did, and pointing out he may have been really difficult growing up, but it's how amazing she was to give everything she did and give all that she did to him. It's just such a nice sentiment from any culture, any background, any walk of life. It's things you can understand because parents do that. I know that they give everything that they can for their kids, because it's what you do for your kids. You know, you give them the best start you possibly can, and it's so nice to see somebody like this do that in song. And it's so nice to see something that I didn't expect, something really emotional and heartfelt. I said what we tend to think of rap is that harsh gangster and guns and violence and, you know, just sex and all of that kind of, you know, rough and in your face. And it's so nice to see something like this. It's a lot like rock music, isn't it? You know, rock music, you think Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off bats, and, you know, the Prince of Darkness. You listen to his ballads, and obviously Mama I'm Coming Home, and songs like that that are just so amazing and heartfelt and full of emotion. And that's what this is. And I think this is a really nice way to start learning about rap. So please, please, please help me understand a lot more. What tracks do you think I should go to? Should I go to the more what I would call typical rap that's about, you know, the gangs and the violence? Should I lean into that, or try and go into the soft side and build up to it? Please let me know. I'm here at, you know, your whim and your guidance, so please help me. I would really appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe. I do have a Patreon as well. If you would like to help me out more directly, that would be appreciated as well. So thanks a lot for joining me. Join me again soon. Bye bye for now.